I work with everybody individually, so it's very person-centered. I'll be basing it off the energy coming from them as well as their blueprint. So their astrology chart will tell me who and what they are and what's really going on. So it's very individual, and I will base the coaching side of it on what that person needs. So everyone will get the same workbooks and the same meditations. However, then when we do our 60 to 90-minute weekly one-on-one, because that's how I get the shifts so quickly, because I'm putting the time in with them and we're really going deep, that's where I do the person-centered stuff, where it's tailored specifically to what they need and how they need it. And I'm getting fantastic results.
Hey, welcome back. It's Pat Mesiti's best-selling author podcast. We're here with Live with Purpose co-author Deb Norman. And Deb Norman has been born a medium. She's trained for 28 years in her field, and she has worked a cold case in the past. Now, Deb Norman is a transformative coach. She's a spiritual catalyst, and she specializes in identifying, resolving, and transforming early family conditioning and the patterns of behavior that create unpleasant experiences. And her very excellent chapter in Live with Purpose is called The Quantum Blueprint, the 5 pillars to rebooting your heart intelligence and soft technology. So we're going to find out what Deb is all about, the problems she can help with, and what she's achieved and overcome. So Deb, glad to be speaking with you.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Glad to have you. And so I did my best to hype up the audience and introduce people to you and what you're all about. But in your own words, what did I leave out, or what just has you super excited these days? What has you passionate?
You did great. I'm really passionate about the work that I've done over the last 28 to 30 years now, which is kind of like the compilation book, really. It's where I've studied with so many different amazing mentors in a lot of different modalities. And what my purpose for that was, to bring together all these ideas and tools and strategies and mold them into one program so that people didn't have to spend 20 or 30 years studying and reflecting and learning about themselves. They could literally go in and get the best of each program that I've done in my own way that I present it, and get the results a lot quicker for less time and less resources.
Very nice. So it's combined, it's consolidated, it's streamlined. And what is the problem that you're helping with when people are experiencing this self-discovery and solving problems? Where are people stuck, and how are you helping them out?
Most people are stuck in their early conditioning or their childhood trauma. So I use their natal chart or their blueprint to identify the core drivers. I can tell them when the trauma happened, how it's affecting their life now, what belief systems they're running, and then what opportunities and information is available for them to transform that. I use a lot of energy healing work as well, spiritual awareness. So we're bringing awareness to themselves and their environment, teaching them about self-development and paradigms, and some epigenetics about how their body is being programmed by their thinking or their belief systems. I know we get what we think about has been one of the most prominent sayings out there. But what I found with all this training was, I mean, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. So we're not going to get everything we think about. What we are going to get is what we're invested in emotionally. So where our focus goes, what we're seeing as being a potential future, how we're feeling about it. And it's that belief system or that paradigm that says this is the way the world is, that seems to be pulling in the events that we don't necessarily want, because we're not realizing that we are subconsciously focusing on that all the time.
So what this tells me is a couple of things. It tells me that our upbringing, our childhood, there's a lot of random chance there, isn't it? Like, we don't choose our parents, we don't choose our friends, and we don't choose many of those early life events. And then we just end up on a path, right? We get that momentum. We have those limiting beliefs, those negative thoughts, the pessimism, the self-sabotage, the all the reasons why I can't do it. And if we're not careful, then that might lead to a life of just repeating that. And so we need to break out of it. Either things get so bad it needs to change, or we just wake up and say, all right, well, if I keep on going in this trajectory, this direction, I'm going to be continuously unhappy. So I need to change those 70,000 thoughts. I need to have focus on the positive, the good, the optimistic, what I'm going to achieve. And what does that look like? Like you mentioned about some of these things like spiritual awareness, but if someone says, okay, well, I want to break out of my shell, I want to achieve amazing things and be happy and productive, how do we go about doing that?
Well, with my Amplitude program, the first thing I do is I look in their birth blueprint, because from the esoteric training I've had and the things that I've seen being born a medium, I know that we have contracts. I know that we make deals, let's just say, with others in our soul pod to assist us in our growth and learning, which is not going to be always pleasant. So those who love us the most are going to be the ones who put their hand up and say, let me help you with that, because I'm coming from pure love. So when I'm looking in the blueprint, I'll be able to see their contracts, their reason for being here, their purpose, and what's holding them up, because they'll be running particular emotional core drivers that's in their DNA. Because we're programmed from our parents in utero back 14 generations that we can track so far. So we're getting all of their input, whether it's positive or negative, and it's in our DNA, and it's part of the program that we unconsciously run. And then we have, the birth experience, then we've got the early environment conditioning. So, you could take a baby and put it in one environment and it would turn out a particular way. But if that same baby was sent to another country and raised in another environment, completely different, you're going to get a completely different child and outcome just from the environment alone, without all the DNA stuff. So we work through all of that. And then I teach them spiritual awareness, which is you as an energy body, because you're not your body. You're just connected to it for a physical experience, because spirit energy wants to expand, but it cannot feel and touch and taste without the body. So it's like a contract that they have together to work together to expand on experience. So we work on all of that as well. And then I'll go through energy body exercises, teaching them how to work their energy body, how to work their consciousness, their awareness, to expand that so they're more aware of what they're feeling and thinking, but also what's going on in the environment, so that they can see more opportunities. We'll go through some timeline therapy where we can go back and heal trauma. And what I mean by that is, because of my other abilities I was born with, I'm able to kind of insert myself into somebody's past experience energetically, see what was going on for them, change the outcome, and the brain doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know that it happened back then. It thinks it's happening right now because you're seeing it and feeling it. So we can trick the brain into believing that that event didn't have that outcome, and the body lets go of the trauma.
Very cool. Very nice. And it's amazing that we have all this information, that we have these techniques and the process such as yours, because there's not just one way to solve these problems, right? And I can imagine if people have gotten to a point of desperation, if they've tried reading such and such self-help book, right? They've tried some kind of hypnosis, they've tried years of therapy, and they say, well, hey, I want to try some of these alternative solutions. And so I know that everyone is different here, Deb, but when you go and like look into this and you try to figure out, well, what's holding someone back, do you see any recurring trends, or is everyone completely unique?
I work with everybody individually, so it's very person-centered. I'll be basing it off the energy coming from them as well as their blueprint. So their astrology chart will tell me who and what they are and what's really going on. So it's very individual, and I will base the coaching side of it on what that person needs. So everyone will get the same workbooks and the same meditations, However, then when we do our 60 to 90-minute weekly one-on-one, because that's how I get the shifts so quickly, because I'm putting the time in with them and we're really going deep, that's where I do the person-centered stuff, where it's tailored specifically to what they need and how they need it. And I'm getting fantastic results in that 12 weeks.
And can you share the kind of results? Because it's always good to hear about the transformation that's occurred, right? So, like, what are people like on the other side of this?
I just received actually a video review from my last client, which was really lovely. She had hyper independence going through her family line, which was causing major problems right down the female line. She was a people pleaser, wasn't standing in her power at all, was having a lot of conflict with family, the partner's family. Had another one who was having a lot of health issues and hated herself, another one that had tumours on her liver. She was having some sort of experimental treatment, but after 5 weeks of working with her, 2 of those 3 tumours were gone. It was just like, wow. It's literally what I'm doing is facilitating information and guiding them in how to heal themselves. Because the body is soft technology. We're a biological machine that has been created to sustain itself if we know how to do that. But we've only been programmed and taught how to be in the negative, everything that keeps us limited and stuck. So now it's time for everybody to unlearn and relearn.
And I can definitely relate to that part of it, the issue of just the mind naturally going to the negativity, because that has served us in the past, right? If you're just trying to survive, and it is kind of a time saver as well, right? If you look at something and you say, well, what's wrong with it, right? What's wrong with this picture, or this movie, or this writing? It's easy to say, oh, fix this. But then if that's all we're doing, if that's all we're thinking, it sounds miserable. So as strange as it seems to get this new habit of being positive and optimistic and encouraging and nice to people, it's like a much better way of going about things, right? Especially if we want to heal our body and our mind and our spirit the way that you help people. And you mentioned how you are a medium, and we mentioned in the bio that you helped solve a cold case. So I find that very interesting and fascinating. So can you tell us, like, what a medium is, and what kind of, I don't know, like, powers is the right thing to say, but what are your skills and abilities?
A medium is somebody that's come through extremely energetically sensitive, who can pick up on vibrations and other energies that are not in a body now. I suppose that's the easiest way to explain it. So when I kind of fell into that, I was originally mentored by a police medium years and years ago. She was my first mentor that showed me how to get rid of the chronic fatigue syndrome that I had in my body. I was very, very ill. And she showed me how my belief systems, my thinking, my past trauma that I was stuffing down into all my organs, that literally was eating away at my body. It was making me very sick. And she explained it as being like mud. So she was the one that taught me how to remove that and get over chronic fatigue without having to have other interventions. So I was working for the council, and I was supporting young mums in helping them with their new babies, especially young mums that were left on their own. The father wasn't around. And I've had a lot of babies very young, and I was really, really good at running the home. So I went in to do that. And when I was doing that, I ran into one of the other ladies there that was thinking of doing what's it called, like child safety. And I was also thinking about doing that because I thought my skills would be very good in that area, but found out that red tape wise, that wouldn't be very acceptable. So both of us kind of dipped out of that. But I was having coffee with her one day, and then a massive big screen just opened up in front of me, which is how I used to see things, like I was watching the TV basically. And I started seeing this movie playing, and I've never travelled, so I had no idea about Twilight, and I didn't know anything about the UK. And I literally watched what was her grandmother being murdered in full detail and colour, which was absolutely horrific. And I used to see a lot of stuff anyway, all the time. If I went to a hotel or I was driving, in between states and we were going through a bush area, I would see stuff all the time. But that quite took me by surprise. And when I told her what I was seeing, she's straight on the phone to Scotland Yard saying, I've got somebody here that not only just told me everything that you've got, but everything that you don't have. And that's how that started.
Amazing. So, and did this end up in, did they like solve the crime, or what was their resolution to this?
I told them where he was.
And he was there and they found him and caught him?
They didn't tell us any of that. No.
Okay.
I get the feeling that they didn't want to be bothered, but because it was an old one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, like you see these amazing and incredible things, and this the skill that you have, it's applied in all these crazy amazing ways. And so I'm curious about your own personal transformation, but crazy in a good way, I say. So
Yes.
your own personal transformation, like you've helped people, but I imagine that you did not always have life figured out in this way, and who does, right? So I'm curious about what was your own past like, and what have you had to overcome? What have you struggled with?
Okay, my past. Well, as you can imagine, growing up with my abilities in the 60s and was not that acceptable. So I was the weirdo, and there was really no one to talk to, and it isolated me. So I spent a lot of time alone. I felt not okay. And that created programs about me not being enough. So then, from then on, I developed these empath qualities. So we're not born an empath; we develop them. It's like we're trying to get a need met. It's the people pleaser of you do whatever everyone else wants, and then they'll like you. But it backfires. It doesn't really work energetically. So it was very, very hard. I had a lot of babies very, very young, as a teen. And it just got harder and harder. And I was seeing more and more things where it was literally making me physically sick, because it was very traumatic to see these things in detail like this, especially when you've got no one to talk to and you have no idea what's going on. So you're dysfunctional, you're not getting any sleep, you're married to dysfunction, everything is just a total nightmare. And then out of the blue comes mentors to start pulling you out of that. And I was pretty messy. So it took a lot of work. I would study for hours of a day, and then I'd be up till midnight every night working on me with all the stuff I had from my mentors to try and straighten out my programs, because they were so deeply ingrained in me. I really resisted them. Like, there was a lot of pushback and a lot of crying and a lot of stuff. But over the years, I've figured out how to break that down, tweak it, change it, and put it in a way that doesn't cause so much trauma as you're learning how to rewire yourself. Because when you do something habitually, the body takes it on. It becomes the subconscious mind. And then it will just repeat things without you even knowing you're doing it. So 95% of the day, you're just repeating that same pattern, which is reinforcing the program, releasing more cortisol, putting you in fight flight constantly. So you've got one foot on the brake, one on the accelerator, round the clock. Your immune system is just getting trashed, and you're just falling to bits, literally, in every way. So this training is specifically good for people who are empaths or have been born with that psychic or medium ability, but it's out of control, or they have severe immune issues. They've got past trauma they can't let go of, or they're just so fixed they won't let go of stuff. Because we can say to someone, I don't want to feel or have this, but we keep doing it. So there is a part of us that does get a payoff in it. And that's the hardest thing for people to get their head around, is the self-responsibility that your conscious mind might not, but your unconscious mind is really getting quite a kick out of this program. And of course, now your body's addicted to the cortisol from that. So the minute that runs out, it will access those memories re-trigger it, re-trauma you, you'll react to it, and then it can release more cortisol, and then it's like, that was good, So basically, our bodies are drug addicts. If we've been in that habitual cycle, we become addicted to it.
And that is a scary place to be, but the way that you've laid it out, I can relate to that. Like I've experienced this, and I think everyone watching and listening has as well, right? Of kind of
Yep.
developing these bad habits and then running out of the cortisol and then going back to the bad memories and just digging up more of the stuff. And we
Yep.
definitely need to change our habits, listen to our mentors, alter the path, do the hard work, and get on a kind of get pointed in a better and different direction. And so in our last couple of minutes here, I want to get people excited and pointed to the quantum blueprint. And I know that you have like a hub, a link tree that's linktr.ee/the_quantum_blueprint. And so in our last couple of minutes here, Deb, what is the quick sales pitch, so to speak, about the quantum blueprint? What should people know about it, and why should they go and get it and find out what you have to offer?
Well, I think everybody needs to do this program because it's really so many different programs thrown into one. It's the last thing they'll ever have to do if they do it correctly. It has so many years of experience thrown in there of every modality from spiritual awareness, paradigms, epigenetics, psychological astrology, psychotherapy, all the different healing modalities, and everything has been thrown into this one area. And the younger we do this, the easier it is to flip. Because by 7, we've set all the patterns of everybody around us. So we're mimicking mum and dad at their most dysfunctional, their friends, our teachers, our friends, the whole environment. It's like we're little walking recorders and we're taking everything in, and then we create files on it so that when that happens again, we know how to respond to it. But we're responding to it not from us critically thinking, but from the programs that we saw other people dysfunctionally react with it. So this program is for pretty much everybody, but I do, my preference is for the young empath, because if we can get to people at 18 instead of 30, it's going to make a massive difference to their life. They're not going to be wasting 1 or 2 decades in trauma trying to rewire everything. They can be living and experiencing and having amazing adventures because we've got them early enough to flip them quickly.
Excellent. Amazing. So don't waste that time. Get yourself situated early so that way you don't have
Yes.
to unload all these many years and decades of the garbage, of the bad habits. And so if someone says, hey, this speaks to me, I can relate to the people pleasing and the not quite getting what I want in life and not quite being happy and just kind of having these irrational habits, I want to check out the quantum blueprint and I want to make a change. How can someone do that? What's the next step here?
They can find me on Facebook, or everything is in the link tree. They've got links to everything there, including my private group that I run of 26,000, where I do a lot of educating in there as well.
Very cool. So that is Deb Norman on Facebook, DEB, last name NORMAN. And then the place with all the links we said is linktr.ee/the_quantum_blueprint. So check out what she has to offer. That Facebook group, the Amplitude Program, her Instagram, her various programs. If you have been stuck, struggling, frustrated, you tried all these things, and now you finally got to you exhausted all your possibilities, and you say, I'm desperate. I want to reboot my heart intelligence, and I want to figure out some of break the generational trauma cycle. Then check out Deb Norman and the Quantum Blueprint. And as we wrap up our conversation here, Deb, I like to kind of try to stump my guest a little bit and ask them for a fun quote or lesson that has helped them in life and can help us. So what pops into your mind as far as a quote or lesson that can provide some value to us?
I really like Henry Ford's quote about if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. I like to tweak that a little bit and put it as if you believe, instead of think, because we know that your belief in something is what brings it to fruition. So basically, whatever they want to believe is what they're going to manifest. You don't have to experience all the other stuff going on in the world that other people are just because they are. It's not your contract. Or, you can buy into it and trauma yourself carrying other people's stuff, or you can make a decision by getting clear about who and what you are and what you want, and believe that that is possibility, and see it in your mind, get emotionally involved with it, and then you will have it. But
I
you've got
love
to
it.
clear
Very
all
great.
the
So
distortion first. You can't pack
yeah,
that on
clear
top
all the
of
distortion, and getting to success won't happen by a random accident, right? We need to believe, we need to make a deliberate decision, we need to
Yes.
focus, and we need to get there and have a strategy and a plan. And Deb Norman is the person to help you figure out that strategy and the plan with all the tools that she mentioned. She combines the astrology and the psychology and all those sorts of things. So Deb Norman, the Quantum Blueprint. That's linktr.ee/the_quantum_blueprint. And she's also, as we said, a co-author with Pat Mesiti in the book Live with Purpose. So check it out. And thank you very much, Deb, for stopping by and giving us this amazing information.
Thank you so much, Robert.